I am comfortable with risk. I just know things are going to work out. And 99% of the time that works in my favor. I have moved 20 times throughout my life.
20 times within America or in all over the world?
All over the world.
Live like a CEO.
Welcome to another episode of Live Like a CEO. You already know that in this podcast, we invite C-suite executives, CEOs to talk about their personal life, their business life, and how they manage it. And also, we learn a lot of insightful learnings about business operation and everything. So, without further delay, let me welcome our special guest today. Her name is Amy Sanchez. She is founder and CEO of Swim Against the Current. Let me say, I really like the name Swim Against the Current. This is a very unique name for a business. I really like it. Amy,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining. Let me read from your LinkedIn. It says, Swim Against the Current, providing executive coaching, leadership training, and team workshops to help leaders and teams in growing life science and tech companies scale with clarity, not chaos. I really like the things. And before our recording in the discussion, you said you are kind of like a therapist for the business. I know you are not a licensed therapist. It's just a way of saying. So, Amy, can you please describe who you are, what you do, for whom, and who is your client, kind of things?
Yes, happy to be here. You said a lot of it really well. I've been running Swim Against the Current. This will be my 8th year in business. So prior to this, I spent over 10 years as a leader myself in large healthcare companies like Eli Lilly, Johnson and Johnson. Who I help today, Raju, is really those leaders who have been running at full capacity for so long, and they have climbed to the top of their field, the top of their business, and they kind of stop and look around and say, well, this doesn't feel like I thought it would. I'm finally where I wanted to be for so long, but I don't really feel as good as I thought I would. So that is really the client that I work with. Now, that's my B2C client. I know you've got entrepreneurs listening, so they're going to understand this language. I also have a B2B client. My B2B client is traditionally, it's going to be head of HR who will bring me in to do some kind of transformational work, whether it be help up-level their leadership team or middle management, give them valuable management training skills, or work with teams who need to gel and work better together. So that's primarily who I work with.
That's awesome. So, an audience, we are putting Amy Sanchez's her name, website, phone number, email address, everything on the screen. So, if you like to reach out to her, please directly reach out to her. She's a great person. She will take care of you. And you'll say, oh my God, why I didn't reach out to you earlier, kind of things. So, Amy, we were learning about your business. Also, we would like to learn about your personal life. So, as a person, who you are, please describe yourself.
Yeah, so I am a mother, and I have 2 young girls, ages 6 and 9, some of the best ages. They're so fun right now, and they still love to be around me. In fact, sitting in front of me is this picture that my 6-year-old drew for me. I see your cute little parrot in the back there.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she drew that that painting. Yeah.
It's such a great age. Also have a wonderful husband. We've been married for 11 years. He's in the tech industry, and we live in Silicon Valley, so surrounded by a lot of healthcare and tech professionals around us. The other fun fact about me is I have moved 20 times throughout my life.
Wow.
So my moving around a lot as a kid really started my fascination with human behavior.
Wow, that's awesome. 20 times within America or in all over the world?
All over the world.
Wow. What countries you have been living?
I've lived in Italy and I've lived in Japan.
Wow. That's awesome. So, not everyone in America and pretty much all over the world, not everyone is an entrepreneur. Like many of them, they're really scared. So what helped you being an entrepreneur? Is there any like a person or incident in your life that kind of triggered you to be entrepreneur?
Raju, this really started early for me. So I got my MBA at USC. There's a big entrepreneurship program there. And so that always piqued my interest, but I was focused on marketing there. I was still on my old path. But the idea of running my own venture has always been of interest to me, maybe primarily because I'm a second child and I was always being told what to do growing up. And so I craved that uh, I just craved that seat where I was in control and in command. So that seed has been with me for a really long time. What really took me over the top was when I went through a huge life change when I first became a mother. Some things started to happen on the marketing front for me where I sort of pulled my head up and said, well, what are my priorities here? What do I want my future to look like? And there are a few things that I will say made me comfortable choosing the entrepreneurship path. Because you're right, it's not for everybody. I will say first, I got to a point in my journey where working for somebody else was less attractive to me than working for myself. So as you kind of look at the scale, that scale's got a tip for you in a way that both intellectually but also emotionally, just you're feeling that draw to entrepreneurship. The other thing about me, and maybe this is because I moved so much, I just don't I am comfortable with risk. I
Perfect.
just I just know things are gonna work out, and 99% of the time that works in my favor. So
Perfect. Perfect.
I yeah, I just don't have trouble with facing the unknown. It's kind of exciting for me. The
Mhm.
third thing that I would say for people kind of considering, am I ready for entrepreneurship, is be in a place where you can financially take a hit to grow your business because a big part of this is how you show up energetically.
Mhm.
You're going to be the product attracting whether it be investors or clients. So make sure that you're in a mental and emotional and cognitive space where you are oozing excitement. And part of that is just making sure that financially, going back to Maslow's hierarchy, those
Mhm.
bottom rung needs of the Maslow's hierarchy are taken care of, including being being sound financially.
Perfect, perfect, very powerful. So a lot of entrepreneurs they think that they will teach their kids to be entrepreneur.
Mm.
So, what do you think? Like you being a mother of two amazing children, like how early parents should kind of encourage their kids? Like, is it like a middle school, high school, college? What do you think?
This is a really interesting question. I've been thinking about this a lot because I grew up in a family where I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family. So I was
Mhm.
very much the anomaly. My dad worked for the same company for 30 years. And so I don't think that there's a solution for me. I will not tell my kids, yes, you should be an entrepreneur or yes, you should work for somebody else because there's merits in both. I think what's most important is understanding what your top priorities and top values are, and then finding the path that enables you to honor those. And that could be working for somebody else, or it could be entrepreneurship. I will say, if you're going to do a service based business like me, don't do it straight out of college. Build your network and build your expertise first.
Got it. So yeah, very true. Now, when you provide coaching to executives, like you said, you provide coaching to head of HR and other people. Does it matter like whom you're coaching? Like for example, male versus female, young versus old, like a native born versus immigrant. What's your experience?
You mean, does it matter in terms of how I coach them, how I approach
Hmm.
it, or
Hmm. Yeah.
it,
How you design the material, pretty much everything, like every aspect of your providing coaching.
there is so I went to school for coaching, and a lot of coaches out there didn't, and that's sort of an important factor as you're
Hmm.
looking for a coach because it's kind of the Wild West. Anybody could just put out their shingle and call themselves a coach.
Hmm.
Um, I went through an accredited program that taught me a specific framework and formula to help people get from A to B, which is what coaching
Hmm.
is. I'm here, it feels icky, I don't like it, I wanna be here. Okay, how
Hmm.
do we get there? And so for me, it doesn't matter what's in your background, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what gender you identify with, how successful you are. You have a pain, it has distracted you long enough that you are seeking help, and I have a process that I take all my clients through that can get them from where they are to where they want to go. Now, there are different ways we go about it. Some of the constants are we will address mindset, we will address limiting beliefs, we will address things that assumptions that you've had from the beginning that might be standing in your way. But the way we go about that differs per person. Like some people are more cognitive and some people are more artistic and creative. And my job is to find the approach that works best for your personality. And a lot of
Mhm.
times it's taking you out of your comfort zone so you really learn what you need to learn about yourself.
Perfect, perfect. And I know that it's not possible for you to explain everything in this podcast, but can you please provide two or three tips, like what you teach in your coaching, like a what lesson you teach them, kind of things, if possible.
Yeah. So this is what's different about um, coaching versus consulting. Consulting is going to
Mhm.
come in and say, I've done this before. Here's the roadmap you need to follow. You need to start with one, then you need to do two, you need to do three.
Mhm.
That's not what I do.
Okay.
What coaches do, professionally trained coaches will do is help you ask the right questions,
Mhm.
connect to your strengths, and understand what's getting in your way of achieving what you want to achieve. And that's not going to be me coming in and saying, hey, Raju, I know exactly what's stressing you out. It's this and this and this, and you need to do XYZ, because
Mhm.
only you know that.
Yeah.
So my job is really to uncover what's standing in your way. And the very first thing that I start with, Raju, is I will start with self-discovery. So I have
Mhm.
an assessment that I take everybody through called the Energy Leadership Assessment. And it's a really interesting way of uncovering what filter you're using as you navigate your world. So we start with that. We improve your self-awareness and your confidence, and then we start to identify where it is you want to go. And then we start to introduce leadership frameworks like how to prioritize better and how to delegate better and all those traditional leadership frameworks that people are reading from Amazon books.
Yeah. So this is a very funny question, but have you ever experienced something like that? You tried everything, but the person you're providing coaching to, he or she is not getting any benefit. Like he or she is not having any change in their life. Have you experienced anything like that before?
I've worked with over 1,000 leaders by now,
Mhm.
and there are only two or three that I can point to that I can say
Mhm.
um, the coaching was not the right fit for them.
Okay.
Um, Everybody else, great transformation, so fun to see what the coaching process was able to allow them to do, unlock inside of them.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes, Raju, excuse me, sometimes though, what I will find is people will come to me for coaching, but what they really need is therapy.
Yeah.
And usually I can figure that out in our discovery session because I'll do a discovery session with everybody just to ensure fit. But every once in a while, it's so deeply ingrained and hidden that it doesn't come out until we start to peel away the layers of the onion.
Mhm.
But I have had probably 3 out of 1,000 where I've had, at some point I've had to go back to them and say, "Hey, um, I'm not licensed for this. You need to work with a therapist to work through this."
Mhm. And of course, without not disclosing their name or identity or anything, can you please describe like a what was the situation and why did you think they are not ready for coaching? They need therapy.
Yeah. I still like my heart still goes out to them because I have such a deep desire to help everybody who comes to my door.
Mhm.
I had one executive who had worked at Google for many, many years, and I'll never forget his intake form. He said, "I feel like a prisoner in my own skin."
Wow.
And he had this family who was caring for him, and of course, at Google, he was making a lot of money, stock options, and he just didn't feel like he could leave, otherwise he would just disrupt their lifestyle, and he was the only breadwinner in the house. However, it was creating suffering at such a high degree in his life, that eventually it led him to work with me, and we'd gone through a few sessions, the discovery work that I shared with you, and in coaching, you need to create forward momentum and take action in order to
Mhm,
create change. I started to notice that he he wasn't open to trying anything new.
mhm,
So we did the discovery, we realized, yes, this is the thing that needs to happen, but every time we'd come back to meet, no steps had been taken. He'd keep falling back into those old thoughts of,
mhm.
I need to continue to suffer to provide for my family. And so that was a situation where there was something deeper going on from childhood where I had to refer him
Mhm.
out to a therapist.
Got it, got it. Thank you so much. That's very, very powerful, very important. All right, Amy. So we are almost halfway to the interview, the podcast. We're going to take a very short break. Dear audience, we are just going to take a 30 seconds break and we'll be right back.
Live like a CEO.
Starting a podcast or looking to make yours more powerful? Make sure it's heard, not lost in the noise. Managing recording, editing, publishing, and promotion can be overwhelming. That's where Kulna Technologies' 360-degree podcast service comes in. We handle everything from recording to producing to publishing, so your podcast always sounds top tier. You focus on the message, while we repurpose, stream, and promote it across every platform. Want a true 360-degree podcast service without the tech stress? Launch your podcast with Kulna Tech today and let your voice reach the world.
Live like a CEO.
Welcome back to our podcast today. We have a special guest. Her name is Amy Sanchez. She is the founder and CEO of Swim Against the Current. I really like the name of this business. And all of her information, her name, email address, phone number, website, everything is on the screen. Feel free to reach out to you if you need to get any service from her, any help from her. All right, Amy. So we were talking about, how, you provide service and those who are not ready for you, they need like a therapy kind of things. All right, so now we're going to your kind of personal life. Do you have any hobby outside of definitely your business that really helped you in your entrepreneur journey?
Oh, yes, I do. Um, Something that I started to do last year, and it's become just a real love and a passion of mine, is I started to do a lot more yoga. And oh, maybe it's my advanced age. I just can't hit the pavement and the cardio like I used to. But it has been so incredibly healing. And I find that I'm a high achiever. I'm like I like to check as many boxes off in a short time as possible kind of a person. And yoga really helped me slow down and center, which is something that I help my clients do. But yoga really helped me start to do that too. So that's my go-to now.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs, they said they do yoga, they do, freehand exercise in the morning. Like first thing in the morning, they do like a 10 minutes freehand exercise, yoga. Also, one person, he told me every morning, immediately after getting up, he watched some funny video, like a 5 minutes, like a comedy kind of video. It's kind of give like a very happy tone in his life, and he's very happy with that. What do you think about that?
I love that. I think it's a great idea. I will tell you the biggest mistake that I used to make all the time, and I see this a lot with my corporate clients, is
Mhm,
you wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone.
mhm,
And when you start the day like that, you're in reaction mode. Reaction,
mhm.
reaction, reaction, reaction. So I think it's really smart. I call them the bookmarks. How you start your
Yeah.
day and how you end your day is so important. So I think a practice that really evokes positive emotion is a great idea. The other thing I've been experimenting with, Raju, is just a small, short amount of meditation every day.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll see if it works. You'll have to, call me in 6 months and hold me accountable, but so far it's been really nice.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I also recommend that in a short meditation, like a 3 minutes meditation in the morning. That's good enough. All right, Amy. So there's two groups of people. One group they follow work-life balance. They kind of like keep it separate, totally as much as they can. Other group of people they call it work-life harmony. They kind of mix and match. Which group you belong and why?
Yeah, this is a question that I really had to think through. I think I'm gonna be in a third group. So sorry to
Oh.
blow up the analogy here. But
Sure.
I really didn't really strongly relate to either one of those. I think balance is a bit of a myth, and here's
Mhm.
why. Um, as a high achiever, I think people want to excel in everything that they do. And I assimilate as a high achiever. I work with all high achievers. I think the key to sort of figuring out this work versus life dynamic is redefining your definition of good enough. Good enough.
Yeah.
So, for example, once you have kids, are you going to do work as well as you did before? Well, you could, but it means you're going to drop the ball at home. So, what are you comfortable with? And what do you want to say no to? And what do you want to say yes to? I think it's more of just prioritization, and balance is a little bit of a myth.
So what is your third group? How do you define it?
So, I would define it more as um, a trade off. What trade offs are you willing to make?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if because this is the trap that I see people fall into all the time, and by the way, this happens to me also,
Mm-hmm.
is work gets really, really busy, and then they just have this enormous guilt about not being able to be there for the kid, all the things that the
Mm-hmm.
kids have. Or they double down on helping with the kids and then, drop the ball in work, and they just get in this constant mode of beating themselves up. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the thing that's more important is thinking about how do you maintain a positive
Mm-hmm.
state of mental health so
Yes.
that when you do make those trade-offs and you make them in a very sort of cognitive and intentional way,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't beat yourself up, that
Yeah. Yeah.
you realize it is a trade-off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's very powerful, very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that a new concept in this podcast. So my next question would be: have you learned anything in your business life that you very successfully applied in your personal life?
I that's a great question. My clients teach me things all the time. All the time. I feel like I'm learning from them and just the way their minds work, and it's just so interesting. One thing that comes up quite often when I work with leaders is to be very clear and transparent with your communication, because
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes we're just stewing in the background like, oh, why did that person say that? I can't believe it. That
Mm-hmm.
they must be such a bad person. And the fact
Yeah.
is, they just didn't know what your expectations were. I had to look myself in the mirror at one point when I had a difficulty with my neighbor, just a little bit of the neighbor was doing something that he thought was a good idea, and it was making it difficult for us. And so I had to really come to terms with the fact that, well, I haven't communicated that to him,
Mm-hmm.
that it's bothersome for us, and it actually is an impediment for us. And I need to have that conversation. Well, uh, that the I would say, like, the courage to do that really
Mm-hmm.
came from seeing working with my clients and taking them through these really difficult situations where we
Mm-hmm.
got to the conclusion that clarity is kind. I say that all the time. Clarity is kind. Be transparent and also be professional in your communication. That really helped me have that conversation with my neighbor, and it ended up working out. And so what was sort of a situation where I wanted to avoid conflict turned out to be a really good conversation that needed to happen with my neighbor.
Perfect, perfect. Yes, this is a very common thing. And now, the opposite question, like, have you learned anything from your home, your personal life that you successfully applied in your business?
Yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit more of a personal story.
Mm.
2 years ago, I had a very close family member diagnosed with cancer, and it
Oh,
was,
so sorry.
um, it happened really suddenly, and it was a
Mhm.
very serious, rapidly growing cancer. And through that, and I was incredibly lucky. For 40 some years, I had gone through
Mhm.
life never giving a thought to my health or the longevity of life. It was
Mhm.
just like, oh, that's something old people deal with.
Mhm.
So in my 40s, to come face to face with, cancer, and somebody in my family could die, I'll tell you, Raju, is like, there is nothing like that to help you reprioritize what's important in life.
Mhm.
And so all those like stupid little things I was stressing about that, that client not getting back to me or, whatever,
Mhm.
went out the window as soon as that realization in my family came to be. And so I think, as humans, we are just wired to worry. It's part of
Mhm.
our biological response to keep us alive. And it
Mhm.
goes back to times when we were having to run from saber-toothed tigers, and now we, apply that same stress response when we're in
Yeah.
traffic or getting,
Yeah.
getting emails that
Mhm.
upset us. Um, I think what that taught me is really, being busy is a privilege. It's a
Yes.
privilege. It's
Mhm.
something that we create when we have such full lives, and
Mhm.
not to stress about the small stuff. And that may be, something that we hear again and again, but man, that situation really brought that front and center for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And when it happens, it's very, very tough to manage those things. So, Amy, we're at the end of the podcast. Can you please give 3 tips for our young entrepreneurs who are ready to start their journey?
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to be really succinct with these. Number one, I would say launch before it's perfect. If you
Mhm.
spend your time trying to get it perfect, it will take you so long to launch. And by the way, you're going to innovate once you launch. So launch before it's perfect. Number two, and this is something that I messed up. I didn't do this. I wish I would have. Surround yourself with a support network of like-minded people. That is hard to find, and it's really easy to find that when you're an established business because it just sort of organically happens. You have to be really intentional about finding that as an entrepreneur, but you're going to need to rely on those people. So find your network, find your people. And then number three, find or establish some sort of a practice that allows you to weather the storms. There are so many ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It just like that is a fact. Like it's never going to be smooth sailing. Know that you're walking into storms and clear skies, and find a practice that you can rely on that will help you when things get really dire, and celebrate your victories. Those are my three
Perfect.
things.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those 3 tips, and also appreciate your time with us. Thank you very much for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Live like a CEO.